I'm saying, all right, episode 29. Let's go. All right. So, Brandon, how you doing today? Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, no problem. Not too bad.
Yeah? And Sam, good to see you. It's been a little bit. How are you?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing all right. Been a interesting holiday season and getting back life to normal now.
I agree.
So, we're here today because we're going to discuss methamphetamine, or ice, crank, speed,
Crystal?
many different things it's known in the streets. Because I feel like there's a lot of people talk about it, but I don't think there's a lot of like real factual information that actually gets shared with each other. It's a lot of opinions, like I heard this, I heard that.
Right.
So let's like really get into it today and educate some people about it.
Okay.
So yeah. So in the United States, I pulled some statistics from 2021. That was like the most recent quality information I could find. And so for people 12 or older, 2.5 million people use meth in 2021.
Holy shit.
And out of that, 1.6 million got meth use disorder. So think about that. 2.5 million, over half got the use disorder, got addicted to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty powerful drug.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then another thing was 32,537 people died from overdose in 2021 from meth.
Meth overdose?
Yep.
That's crazy. I never heard nobody. I suppose gives you a heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
How could you even do that much?
I mean, I don't know if you want to discuss it, but didn't you have someone pass away from meth recently?
He just died on the 8th. Yep.
I don't
From
think.
long term or?
Yeah. Well, and he had gotten sober too for a while, and just recently relapsed. Like his family didn't know, or at least he didn't think they knew it. So he hadn't been using long again.
He had passed from long term use or he OD'd?
We don't know if it was from. We'll find out in a couple weeks because the autopsy isn't back yet, but probably both.
All right, I'll just pick up where you guys left off. So, meth affects dopamine, which is responsible for feeling pleasure, motivation, memory, learning, things like that. And as you use more, you build up a tolerance. So you have to use more and more to get those quality feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, to start, how old were you when you first used?
Probably about 25, 26.
Really?
Yeah.
And what did you feel that first time?
Well, I was, like I said in previous episodes, I was prescribed Adderall, all that shit, since I was about 8 years old.
So did you lose your prescription then? Is that why you used?
Yeah.
So when you lost your prescription, you turned to meth.
It's been on and off, yeah. Like, I would get cut off for smoking weed, and then I'd start using other shit.
Do you know people, like other friends or people that also struggle with that same type of issue where they're like losing a prescription for something like that and then turning to a drug? Because that seems like it'd almost be a common thing.
Yeah, of course. I mean, how many people at the methadone clinic are there because they lost a prescription?
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
How many people are addicts to opiates because they lost their painkiller prescription?
I'm one of them.
Exactly. And there's people that I know that you'd never even think that they were users,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
but that they lost their prescription. And
And then I want to ask you that too. How old were you the first time?
23.
Okay. And what did you feel the first time?
I mean, euphoria. I have ADHD, but I was never diagnosed until I was an adult. So, I abused Adderall before my meth use, but not to the extent of taking it long term like that. So it was basically like doing an Adderall times 100,
Right?
And you guys think I talk a lot now. Huh. Should have seen me the first time I did some dope.
So what was it that led you to actually become addicted to it and use it as a regular substance in your life?
I don't think I got addicted to it until after I was struggling with heartbreak, and that's when I turned to it to help myself try to get out of it, try to get out of that funk, and then Next thing I know, I'm begging my dealers not to give me anymore, but they still are.
Like, what does it do for you emotionally? Is it like is there a euphoria that like lifts you up so you don't feel the pain?
In the beginning, yeah, but then after a while, the only feeling that you can feel is anger. You don't feel any other. You don't feel hurt. You don't feel happy. You don't feel sad. You just feel anger.
From like just the using?
Mm-hmm.
That's the feeling that it draws out of you mostly?
Yep.
Like, I'm trying to understand like how long-term use and you just feel anger.
Yep. You can't that because it blocks out all the other feeling. It blocks
Like
out your
your
feeling.
dopamine gets so low that you just get to this really dark, angry place all the time unless you're using.
Yep.
So that is that
And
why
even when you're using, sometimes when you stay up for too long, even the first day or two, you're decent, and then at day 3, day 4, it's bad, and it gets worse the longer you stay up.
Right.
I've always hated that feeling, staying up. I always made sure I got some sleep at night.
Mhm.
I don't think I've
How
ever,
can you make sure that you get sleep on it though?
you just lay the hell down and fight it.
Yeah, or take something to counteract it.
Because I mean, I know that if you the staying awake part lasts a lot longer than the euphoria, right? Like
Yeah.
that. So after that's gone, how can you even judge when you can sleep, when you can't?
When everybody else is sleeping, you go to sleep.
That might.
It's not always that easy, though.
That's what I'm saying. Like that seems like a pretty simplified
I-
way to do something a
I've
lot harder.
literally prayed to God to let me fall asleep, like ask for forgiveness for all my sins and everything, and to let me fall asleep. Usually doesn't work,
So
but
I've never had a problem. I could do a line and go to sleep an hour later.
when I was going through pause, I had tried it with, not gonna say with who, but I had to work the next morning because when I was going through pause, I was looking for anything to save me from that hell that I was in at that point. And when I got home, it was like 6 hours after I did it. I didn't feel it anymore. I lay down, couldn't sleep. 1 in the morning, awake. 2 in the morning, awake. 3 in the morning, awake. And I had to leave at 4:30. And I was like, if you don't sleep, you're not gonna. 4 in the morning, still laying there. And that's where like I have a hard time understanding the long-term appeal when that lasts so much longer than the euphoria.
well, because you just do more.
It doesn't last that long once you start doing it more and more and more.
So really, once you build up a tolerance, it changes the dynamic
yeah,
too. Than
definitely.
in the beginning.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, in the beginning, I could do a line and be up for like 3 days.
Yeah.
There were times, actually, I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday. When I was in my meth addiction real bad, I knew I had a problem when I woke up at 3 in the morning one day and there were 5 people in my bedroom. They had decorated, there were streamers all over.
Whoa.
They were hanging from the ceiling fan, they had blown up balloons, all sorts of shit. And they were handing me the bub and lighting the bub for me, and I was taking a hit and
Wow,
passing
when
right
you
back
just
out.
woke up.
Yeah.
So
And I was going back to sleep every time, too. And that's when
Wow.
I knew I had a problem.
So your receptors were just that beat up that they were barely even acknowledging that you were using. You would hit it and it's just like, what's that?
Yep. Yep. Well, I was doing a lot.
So what were the ways that you both have ingested it? Because I know that there's snorting, smoking, eating it, IV.
I've never done IV
I
anything.
haven't either. Never used a needle.
I used to eat it mostly. Like when I first started doing it, I smoked it the first time, and then I'd smoke it and snort it. And then once I started, like I had stopped for a while, and I feel like I wasn't really addicted before then because I would just stop whenever I wanted to. But then once I got addicted, I started eating it because it's the closest thing to.
How do you eat it?
You put it in toilet paper, tissue paper, a capsule, pill capsule, anything really, and you wrap it up. It's called parachuting.
Yeah, because you don't want that shit to touch your tongue. Ugh.
Yeah, it's good. Oh, well, and I've just taken chunks too and thrown them in my mouth and taken a drink.
Swallowed it like a pill?
Mm-hmm.
So, what are the effects when you eat it? Because that seems, I haven't heard of a lot of people that actually eat it. Is it,
It's really bad for
well,
you.
is it something where instead of like where you snort it or smoke it, where it hits you like that, does it come on slower and then last longer, or
It comes on faster and lasts longer.
really
Yeah,
faster?
Yeah, almost as soon as you take it,
And it hit like within like you'd say what 3-4 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes at the most.
I feel like part of that's placebo though.
Yeah, could be.
'Cause,
Yeah, you just get yourself so amped up for it,
Yeah.
and then you're like, yes, that's. I mean, you get that euphoria just from knowing you're gonna do it.
Right.
Just any drugs, that is.
Yep, I remember that from with the opioid addiction. When as soon as you have it in front of you and you have it, you're just good to go. Like
Even
you're
when you were
feeling
sick.
good. It's not. Yeah, even when you're sick, it's like it's almost gone once it's in your hand. Your body just starts to come out of it. Like shows the power of your mind.
Yeah.
So another thing is what. Let's talk about the short-term effects and the long-term effects. So in the short term, when you smoke it immediately, you get euphoria. You're amped up. You're awake. Is there anything else that you guys have when the short term?
I always snorted it. I mean, I've smoked a few times, but
I used to do hot rails usually too, but no, not really. Just euphoria is the big one, and being happy, excited, feeling like you're in the best mood you've ever been in, kind of thing. And I
And-
mean, it gives you, it energizes you. In the first, when you first start using it and you don't have a tolerance to it, you actually can get things done and whatever, But then once you start to use more and more and you build your tolerance up, you get stuck.
Right. It increases your heart rate and your blood pressure,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yep.
I know when you first start using too, you get kind of paranoid. Think everybody
Right.
knows.
That's another one. The short term, the paranoia.
And long term, you don't think anybody knows.
And how have you had to deal with the paranoia? What and how have you dealt with it?
I really didn't because of being on stimulants pretty much my whole life.
Yeah.
I've always been kind of used to the feeling.
So even when you were on stimulants when you were younger, they kind of still gave you that feeling?
Not really because it was okay that everybody knew.
Right.
Because everybody was telling me, here, take these.
So what is the paranoia then? Is it that everybody knows,
Yeah.
or is it from the drug that it's causing you to create these scenarios?
It's causing you to feel like everybody knows. But in reality, nobody knows. I mean,
Well, some people do.
well, yeah.
We know.
Yeah.
The ex-users know.
But just the average person walking down the road or walking you past at Walmart or whatever thing.
Yeah, but
Right.
you think everybody's looking at you. You think you try not to look anybody in the eye because you think they're gonna know.
Kind of like the first couple times you start smoking weed.
Right.
But then too, like, I dated the dealer, so we always had it on us. It was always in the car, like, wherever we were, we had it on us. So that paranoia too of just getting busted. But you just deal with it, I guess. It's hard to explain, really. You don't really deal with it any certain way. You just
Right. I do understand because when I've driven around plenty with things on me. I definitely know what you feel like when you're, the police and the possible risks. You are just kind of living and the risks are there.
The high overpowers it all.
Right.
You just don't give a shit.
So the euphoria is so powerful that you are willing to go through these negative symptoms and side effects to get that euphoria.
I remember sitting in a bedroom at somebody's house, and the cops had the house surrounded. They were banging on the windows and the doors. We were in a room that had no windows in it. It was in the center of the house, so they couldn't actually see us, but they knew that we were in there. And that just, honestly, that gave us more of an adrenaline to go out and get high and do more stupid shit after they were gone. Like, haha, So sometimes it's the opposite. Even it depends on who you are and I guess how you see things.
That's an interesting. So did you get in trouble then, or what happened?
They were looking for somebody, but nobody ever answered the door, and they ended up leaving, and then they found the person somewhere else. So.
And then you thought you got away with one, and in
Yep.
your substance-induced mind, it was a reason to go use more.
Yeah.
That is an interesting perspective.
That's
What?
why they say, like,
Once you get addicted, though, everything's an excuse to go use.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
yeah, or do, like, you get a high off of doing the illegal transactions, or like that was one thing for me. I was always a hustler, so anytime I could make a buck off of it, that was a high for me.
Just
So
addicted to the life.
yeah, yep,
So let's talk about the long term because we know that it keeps you awake.
yeah.
So how how long does it elevate your heart rate and your blood pressure and stuff? How long do you feel that like elevation?
You don't really feel it. I mean,
In
you
the
don't.
beginning, you kind of do, but then once
Like,
you get a tolerance, the longer you do it, you don't really feel it. Like
yeah, it
you
just
just
becomes
feel
normal.
better.
So the tolerance really does change it big time.
Oh yeah.
Where some, like opioids and stuff, a tolerance changes it some, but it's still the same euphoria, nod off, and
Right.
things like that. But with this, it sounds like once you start to use it more and more, it becomes almost like a whole different feeling.
You almost
Right.
have to start using more and more.
Right.
Right.
And even then, it doesn't really. You're never gonna get what you had the first couple times.
Right, and that's what you're chasing. That's why they call it chasing the dragon. You're trying to get that same high that you got the first time, but you're never gonna achieve it again.
And there is a correlation between people with ADHD and meth users because of the lower dopamine levels with people with ADHD, and meth increases that. So it's easy to use that to elevate it for yourself. And even in younger kids, they're finding that, 7th, 8th, ninth graders are using it too.
Right. That's one of the things my doctor said when I stopped going to the methadone clinic and started seeing a doctor for my Suboxone. And I started telling her my story. She literally stopped me mid sentence and said, "You have ADHD, and you were trying to self medicate."
Mm-hmm.
That's when she sent me to have all the testing and everything done, and because when I was using meth in the beginning before I feel like I got addicted, I was using it to. I was a bartender, so I was using it to stay up until bar closed and get the bar cleaned and get back home safe. And it was helping me when I
Right.
was only using it like that. But when I started using it every day, using more and more and more, then it was that like I got stuck.
And it stopped helping you.
Yeah.
So do you lose that like awakeness after you get a tolerance too?
I mean, not all the like it depends, I guess, because if you were up for so long and your body's just exhausted, you're just gonna sleep anyways.
Right.
I know, like, I used to always be tired at the wrong times. Awake, like, I'd be tired during the day, and up until 5 in the morning.
Were you just using at the wrong times and it was throwing off your body and your mental state?
Probably after a while. I mean, going to sleep at 5 in the morning, waking back up at 8,
Mm-hmm.
then you use, then you do it all over again. Every
Yeah,
day.
and when you wake up, your body feels just exhausted and like you can't function. Even
So it's not a quality sleep when you do get to sleep. Even after being awake for a few days and you should be sound asleep, you're not getting a quality
and
sleep.
I mean, even I sometimes
like I
would
did.
would sleep and not be able to like my son would get himself ready for school, and thankfully the bus stop was our front yard, so he didn't have to go far. But still, just even the thought of my 9-year-old having to get himself ready for school because he couldn't wake me up, just
Right. So when you were using meth like heavier, is that when you were going through that with your son more, that he was more aware and he had to do more things himself?
right.
Okay.
And I feel like that's why he's incredibly mature and incredibly intelligent for his age. And I feel like I forced him to grow up way too quick.
He had to pick it up
Mhm.
early so that he could get things done and be in school. And
Yep. And then I had a sister, and then he had to protect her on top of it, he felt like.
was there a time when he had to get her ready too, or were you already more level by then?
No, she was so little that she didn't go to school or anything yet.
I mean, just even in the morning when he would wake up.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to ask him when he comes on.
Right. How about for you?
What was the question?
I guess we'll move along. All right. So another thing that I think people really are clueless when it comes to the meth thing is the teeth thing. It's not actual like meth is bad for you, but from what I have read and stuff, it's about the lack of taking care of yourself, the malnutrition, and that's why. It's not from the actual using. It's because you are going days and days of just euphoria, getting high, and you're not actually taking care of yourself.
Yep. That and some users are like afraid of their teeth going bad because of the meth, so they'll literally like brush their teeth
Yeah.
and they'll overbrush, and that in itself wears the enamel down. And
That's interesting.
yeah, I know quite a few people actually that that overbrushed like crazy when I first started using, and
Yeah. There's a couple people that take a couple hits, go and brush their teeth.
yeah,
They're that paranoid about their teeth going bad, and I think that's a miseducation because it's actually not from that. As long as you take care of yourself normally and don't go days and days, you should be okay. You know. But I understand that's hard to do, and that's why so many people do fall into that. Because a lot of people do fall into it when they start using.
well, and people automatically assume too if you have bad teeth that you're using meth, and like
That's
in my
because
case,
of the miseducation, though. People
Yeah.
just assume, oh, that's it. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
like my teeth. I mean, I haven't ever had great teeth, but my teeth didn't start going bad until I got put on Suboxone.
Right? We've talked
So-
about that before, yeah.
So it's not the meth that did it. Like when there's a lawsuit for Suboxone and I'm in it, and that's one of the things they ask is, have you ever used meth? And a lot of the lawsuits that I filed for, I would put yes, but they wouldn't have like follow up questions or anything where you could describe.
Right.
And then finally, I found an attorney that did listen, and they're like, yeah, they shouldn't be asking you if you've ever done meth. It should be
Just about the Suboxone use.
yeah, because I have so many pictures to prove like that my teeth were great, great, great. Well, not great, but good, good, good. And then, boom, it was like straight down.
Right.
So
The decline was actually really fast.
yeah, it was. I mean, I lost these two teeth. They fell out within like 6 months of each other.
And how long after you started Suboxone? Do you know?
Well, they started like decaying about 6 months or so after I started taking it, and then once they started, it was like, boom! They just kept going and kept going and kept going.
Well, right.
And
Once
it
they
still
got
does.
weak and
Yep, and it takes like even if I'm very close to getting off of it again, but
that's good.
even after you do get off of it, it stays in your system for so long, depending on how long you've used and how
Right.
much and everything. So even after a year, sometimes after, you're still testing for it.
That's
So,
crazy.
yeah. And if I would have known that, I didn't know anything about it being bad for your teeth. I didn't hear anything about that until like late 2021, and I was on it in September of 2020. And then once you're on it, you're on it. So,
Right.
and it was helping. It was keeping the cravings because I was taking something every day. It wasn't,
Yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, I'm on it, and I know I'd be using without it.
I mean, there's a lot of rumors about methadone, Suboxone, methamphetamine, things like that in teeth and, different misinformation that goes around. So, and, people just want to talk and make people look bad and have an excuse for this or that so they can point the finger at others,
Yep.
put themselves above people.
I always hated that methamphetamine and methadone sounded so similar.
Yeah, and I know that confuses people too. I know
Yes.
there's people who think it's the same, pretty much the same thing, and
It's
it's not at
absolutely not even
all.
close.
Right.
They
It's
are
for,
so different.
It's for opiate disorder, not for
Right.
meth.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
why I was saying they give out Vyvanse now for meth addiction because really there isn't anything. Before they would use Wellbutrin, but more and more doctors are using Vyvanse because methadone isn't going to help you.
No.
So, and neither is Suboxone. Those are for opiate disorder.
Right. So how does meth use impact, social standing and how you are in the community? People
Well,
obviously
at
look
first, I
down
don't-
on people.
At first, I don't really think it does, but after probably a few months, you really don't want to even be out there anymore.
Right.
You just kind of want to shelter, and
And get stuck.
the only place you ever want to go is to go pick up more.
Yep.
But that's, I think, what creates people knowing what's going on, though, and talking about you and assuming this is happening. And
Right.
next thing you know, then you're the person who's using, and they know about it.
Yep.
And it's that sheltering and that hiding that causes some of that stuff.
And I mean, a lot of times when people know you're using, they don't want to bring it up because they know that it's either going to start a problem with you.
Yeah, but they will as soon as you walk away to your
Yeah,
neighbor.
absolutely.
They'll tell everybody else, but of course not everybody's going to say it in front of you. And when someone finally does, it won't be in a positive way usually.
Yeah.
Right.
It's going to be somebody smarting off, or someone who's not really your
And then
friend
that anger
bringing it up.
comes in.
Or your family trying to have an intervention.
I've never had that.
Me
I
neither,
haven't either, but yeah, I mean, I can imagine
It does happen.
Yeah, I can't imagine being that addicted and having my family because yes, if you really want it, you can just do it right then and there. But 9 times out of 10, when they come and say, "We want you to get help," you want to go get high.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
because
you have to want to get it off yourself.
that fear of having to let go right now. You
Yes.
don't want to. You want to go and do it instead. Like, no, I'm not letting go yet.
Even now with my Suboxone, I take 2 milligrams a day. I could be off in a couple months, but just the thought of not taking anything every day, I guess.
Yeah.
That's where if you got to get your nutrition right, get yourself feeling right so that you're balanced. Like
Yeah.
one thing that I actually feel like is food coloring, like Red
Yes.
40 and all these food colorings. Like
Yep.
I try to stay away from it. I feel like that stuff really unbalances
We
people.
have cut Red 40 out of my daughter's diet because of her epilepsy, and she hasn't had a seizure in 2 years. We just took her off her seizure
What?
medication on
Yes.
the first, and
I'm telling you, these
Mm-hmm.
food colorings are bad. You gotta pay attention. Like
Yep.
Lake Blue and
hey,
Red.
by the
and-
way, Aldi's, I just learned this the other day, Aldi's does not sell anything with fake coloring or flavoring.
That's awesome.
I didn't know that, but they do not sell anything with artificial coloring or flavoring in it.
Cool. That's good
Yep.
to know. Because we go there sometimes, but not real
Well,
often.
I'm always in the, I usually order online, so I'm on my phone, like, checking to see what's
But
in everything.
knowing that,
and
like, that's
What
a
the hell do
big,
they use to color their Kool-Aid with then?
probably natural, like
that's
fruit.
probably clear. They
Either that or
make, like,
fruit.
Yeah, true. Yep, real fruit.
That's what a lot of them do if they don't do the fake food coloring.
Well, my kids have those little squeeze bottles, like fruit punch and stuff, but it's clear. It goes into the bottle clear.
Nice.
Yeah.
So let's. Do either of you have any, stories that are just out there that might be valuable to share? I mean, I know that you had some friends going through your yard for night crawlers, and the police
Yeah, that was
got
the same
called
night that I was
like
smoking.
3 in the morning.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know,
Yeah. I got a lot of those.
Any-
Thanks, Teeny.
like I'm talking,
watching this,
about
screw you.
some anything that could help people to understand how this really makes you act and feel.
I don't really have many stories because, like I said, it's always made me want to just stay in the house. I mean, usually I was always really close with my family. I'd go and hang out with my cousin probably 2 or 3 times a week.
Do they know that you're doing it?
They knew something was up because, I mean, after a while I would come outside.
Right.
I'd just be like, nah, I'm gonna stay home.
Mm-hmm.
I got a few wild stories.
Go for it.
Once I was driving home from wherever, I don't even know where, but I had shit on me. I had my kids in the car, and I hit a fucking deer, and it got stuck underneath my car, and I was hopping ditches, trying to get it out from underneath my car, and then
While you were high?
with my kids in the car. I know.
What does hopping ditches exactly mean?
Going exactly how it
Are
sounds.
you
going
talking
from
about
one-
driveways over the driveways
No,
or the
like
ditches?
going over the road trying to get the deer out because I was too afraid to stop if the cop showed up, even though I was on the back roads. I was too afraid a cop was gonna stop and they were gonna search me and I was gonna have shit and my kids were with me, so they were gonna fucking take my kids. But
Did you get
it
the
wasn't-
deer out?
nope, I wasn't too far from home. It's when I lived in
It was Hamburger
Strum.
across the road though.
And it was a little past Tracy Valley going towards home when I hit the deer. So it was only like a mile and a half, 2 miles maybe that I did it. But when I got home, I called my buddy and he came over and he literally pulled the car up on ramps and looked underneath it. And it was the frame of the car was stuck in the deer's neck. And so literally all he had to do was back my car up and the deer like flopped off.
So you were just dragging it forward, and if you'd have
And
stopped and went back, it would have fell out probably. Oh man.
Yep. And I had to get my kids out of the car. My daughter's going, "Mommy, look at the puppy." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Yeah, and I tell myself these stories like all the time.
That's why I also think they're valuable to share, because it makes people understand, like, this situation, you can't even hit a deer and pull over because you might get in trouble. You're so scared of getting in trouble. You're just
Yeah.
going to do something even crazier to get out of it.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Yeah, there was a girl that bought scratch offs at the gas station one day. She walked out without taking them off the counter. So when she left and got in her car, I put them in my sweatshirt pocket. Well, you're in a small town and you're on camera, dumbass. So the cop showed up. And of course, it's a small town, so the cop knows you, has known you since you were in 7th grade. And then it starts getting around, and, people are asking my mom, telling my mom, I should say, not asking her, telling her that I was using, and yeah.
Because you grabbed some scratch offs at the counter?
Well, somebody said that they seen a bag of dope in my wallet when I was checking out, but I never kept dope in that part of my wallet, so it's literally impossible for that to be.
Oh, so they started a rumor because you did that, you're saying?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep. So, yeah. And I mean, there's plenty of times where, like, being in the back of the car and somebody's trying to run from the cops on the back roads, you're fucking barreling through fields and shit in a car with no lights on, and
I've
yeah.
only been in one high-speed chase, and I never want to have it happen again.
Well,
Fuck, I've never been in any.
I was 16,
we weren't
15.
actually in a high-speed chase, but we seen them and we knew that they were looking for the dude driving. So he just flew until he couldn't see him anymore, and then he threw his lights off and went barreling through the cornfield.
My God.
Yeah.
Man, my friend, well, not friend anymore, but when he finally pulled over, he took off into the cornfield, and they sent the dogs in after him. He
Yeah,
didn't make
they
it
will
too
do
long
that.
in there.
They'll do
They
that.
got him pretty quick. But yeah, I was 15 though. I was riding with a friend that was older. He was just speeding like crazy. Cops said he clocked him doing 132, and I was just like, dude, we could have died
Holy
that day
shit.
so easily. I was trying to tell him to pull over. I'm like, dude, just pull over, man. Like, it was a Ford Probe GT. Like, I'm not trying to die in a Ford Probe.
Oh my God, I
And
love
there was
Ford.
5 of us in the car. There was 3 in the back seat and me in the front and him driving, and he decided to run from the cops for
And he
whatever
wanted
reason. We
so-
didn't have a reason to run. He was
didn't have a
actually
what?
a good kid too. He didn't have a record or anything. He just got scared.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens literally. Like, my ex got pulled over. Like, they were going to pull him over, and when they flipped their lights on, he freaked. He panicked. He didn't know what to do. He literally, like, he was trying to call me, and just kept going because he didn't. He knew he had just gotten out of prison, like 9 months before that. He knew that he was leaving a place he shouldn't have been leaving. So
It just sucks that our interactions with the police seem, in this country, a lot of times just seem to be more negative.
I feel like
You
they
shouldn't have
bring
to have
on-
fear when you see a cop pulling you over.
I feel like cops cause more problems than they solve.
Because they overuse the authority.
Yeah.
yeah.
You can't. They push that authority so hard on you.
I just got pulled over a few weeks ago, and as soon as I seen the cop turn around behind me, literally all I wanted to do was put my foot to the floor. But I didn't. I pulled over like a good girl.
I know Minnesota changed their laws now. Cops can't pull you over for a busted out brake light or a license plate light. They can't pull you over for any minor traffic violations or anything like that anymore.
That's interesting.
It is.
Because it was causing a bunch of people to run and put a lot more people in jeopardy.
Right.
Versus just
People
pulling
who
over.
didn't need it, that.
So another thing with the meth discussion is the manufacturing part and these labs that blow up and the dangers of fires and people who don't know what they're doing mixing it and people making the shake and bake where you shake it in the bottle or whatever. That's
All
a
I
really
know is
dangerous.
He said, she said shit about that. I don't.
I seen a documentary on it. It's dangerous.
My
Sitting there
baby
shaking the
dad-
bottle and it's bubbling in your hand while you're shaking it and stuff. Oh man.
Yeah, Journey's dad, like, he started using meth when he was 12 and got involved in all that shit. Scary. I know somebody who's
So you know people? Do you know anybody that ever had one like blow up or
Yeah.
fires or anything like that?
Yep. And it was him and his daughter.
That's
They were-
actually a really popular question to ask AI: how to cook meth.
Really?
Yeah, I was just reading an article on that yesterday.
Wow.
Is it because people are truly doing it, or is it curiosity?
I don't know.
Well, yeah, probably curiosity. I mean, people want to know if it's really that freaking easy to do,
Right.
and
Well,
people
it must
think
not be
it
that
is.
easy because the amateurs seem to cause fires.
Yes, exactly. It's not that the professionals make it seem like it's so easy. You know, look at Breaking Bad.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really not that easy. It's a lot more technical than they think, and then they're like, "Oh, I can do that,"
Right.
because every meth head does.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I know a kid who blew up his grandparents' trailer.
Shit.
What?
Yeah,
That is nuts.
yeah,
That's inconvenient.
yeah. Yep.
Did he have to go to the hospital and he was all fucked up?
No, actually, because he wasn't there when it happened.
It boiled over while he was gone.
And
Some of the
thankfully nobody
chemical.
was there. It like the whole back end of the trailer was
Holy
just
shit.
gone.
Yeah, man. Well, a trailer is just like that's gonna blow right apart with even a minor explosion.
We made freaking wax and didn't evaporate all the butane right, and it blew up in our trailer, and I thought the whole fucking thing was gonna go up in flames.
Trailers are weird.
Yeah.
So, how did you know that when you had a problem that needed to be addressed? Like,
Well, honestly, not until way after I got sober. I knew I had a problem. I begged my dealers not to give me any more, but I'd still be asking for it. I knew I had a problem, but I wasn't willing to address the fact that I had a problem and needed to get help until my kids were taken. And then my kids get taken, and what do? I keep getting high. You know, not for a while, not for long, but for a couple weeks. And yeah, I don't know, but I totally lost my train of thought.
you keep getting high after your kids get taken.
Oh yeah, and you don't want to
Face
unless
reality.
yeah, you don't want to see like you get mad. They took my kids, or I
So
got
you start
busted, or
blaming
whatever.
everybody else.
Like I was making threats. I think I had said this before in a different episode, but I threatened to slaughter my mom like a pig and threatened to kidnap my children.
That was over meth use?
And threatened to kidnap my children from my aunt and uncle's house and blow it up with them in it, like blow their house
And
up.
is
with them
that
in it.
is that from,
That
a
anger.
meth state of mind too, where you're low dopamine, you're angry?
Yeah, I've always been happy. Like, I'm always.
Well, you ever had your kids taken?
Hell no.
Exactly. Have your kids taken,
No.
and you will know exactly what I mean. Especially me. Like all I wanted to be when I grew up was a mom. Like you asked me that all the time when I was a kid, and that's all I would say was that I wanted to be a mom.
Right.
And then I grew up and became a mom, and I fucked it up in the beginning with my son, and then fucked it up again with my daughter. And then I fucked it up again with my third one.
Man, being a parent nowadays is not easy. Like,
Right. It's
how-
not.
I was just Googling how in the hell do you punish your kids last
Right.
night. How do you do it?
Right.
My youngest is just gets angry, usually only ever at home. We were talking about that earlier, and with me, but she'll try to gouge my freaking eyeballs out, or she'll smack me or pull my hair or whatever.
Yeah, my son has a problem with hitting right now too.
I mean, I know they go through phases, but this girl, she used to bite herself when she would get angry. Like she'd draw blood and everything.
Right.
But her dad punches himself in the head when he gets mad. So I mean that makes sense. But how do you break something like
Yeah.
that? And especially nowadays, you can't do anything except get down on their level, which is what you're supposed to do anyway. But still, sometimes kids need to get their ass whooped.
Right.
I mean, I'll still whoop my kid's ass every once in a while if I have to, if it's that bad. But
Right. I will too.
So, Brandon, what are the positives and what are the negatives that you got from using meth?
positives, productivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was always trying to find something to do.
Right.
I didn't ever want to sit down. I guess it was all pointless shit though.
Yeah.
It was
Right.
just shit that does like
Just
coloring.
Doing something-
tinkering around the garage.
Yeah.
putting
6 hours to put my makeup on, like.
Yeah, like
Dumb.
everything has to be fucking perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably how it feels in that state of mind where you're awake and you're just like, I'm gonna get this done and do it right.
Well, and if you're doing something, if you're getting something done, you're getting something done. So even if it's not the things that you're supposed to be getting done, don't really matter.
And then you're always doing like 10 things at once too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna work on this for a minute. Oh, and then over here.
Yep.
And then it's just bouncing. back and forth.
Sidetracked. It's called sidetracked.
Oh,
Really?
piece of candy.
There's actually a name for it?
Yeah.
Or is that just like a slang term?
It's just like a slang term, but that's just like the twack pack. The twack pack.
That's from one of the
Everybody's
other
got a
episodes.
Twack pack. Yep, everybody's got a twack pack. Every tweaker has a twack pack, and you can't tell me they don't. Because every tweaker carries around a backpack with colored pencils and crayons and like shit that they need. Maybe not you, but you are one in a million because every single meth user that I know has a twack pack.
So have either of you had any health issues or social anxieties yourself from your use at all?
Yes and
Or
no.
even mental health symptoms?
I mean, when I was using, I couldn't even like have a social life. Really, the only people that I associated with at all were the ones that were using too, because I didn't want to associate with the ones that weren't, because they weren't, they
Did
were
you
going to
just
judge
feel-
me, or they were going to know, or whatever. Then I was going to get in trouble. So I thought just by hanging out with users that nobody was going to,
Right.
but they do. They still do. It doesn't matter how much they tell you they love you and that they're your best friend. They don't give two fucks about you. All they care about is their next high.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose you don't feel like you fit in really when you're using with the people that aren't, especially with a drug like that. It can be
Right.
hard to really be around other people that aren't using.
Especially other people that have children. Like, like I didn't even want to be around my kids. I mean, when I wasn't actually smoking, but I would always try to like wear a long sleeve shirt or
Right.
whatever. And my my middle daughter was so cuddly and everything with me. She was like obsessed with me when she was
And
that
shit
age.
seeps out of your
And
fucking pores. And,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And even I was talking to my social worker the other day, and she's like, I think anything that you smoke would stick to the walls, even if you smoke heroin.
Oh,
even
yeah.
If you smoke,
Yeah.
weed, anything. It
Yep.
all gets stuck because
I feel like smoking is the most addictive way to do it. I mean, I've never tried needles, but man, when you're smoking, it's every 2 minutes you just want to run back.
And
Yeah.
because it just doesn't last, you don't feel it.
No, you do.
you just want to keep smoking though. You
The
just wanna
craving is that high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you
Although I used to do hot rails, and we called it the meth monkey, and it was it was a piece of glass, and I'm sure if any of them see this, they're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. It was a mirror, and it had the soap dispensers at Walmart that you can get that are different character, like animals or whatever. It was a monkey, and it had, coming out of its mouth, we had a rubber tube that was connected to a glass tube, and then at the top where the soap dispenser would go, we just put a soda bottle on that, and then a tube coming from that, and then you got it attached to your tray, so we'd literally pass the meth monkey around,
Jeez.
and we would do hot rails. Like, I'm not even fucking joking you. Like, we called them, me and my buddy called it trail mix, hot trail mix, and I'd say, dude, I need a bag of hot trail mix the size of my head, and he would pour me a line like this,
oh
like.
my god.
Damn.
And just-
that's so much. Like, wow.
And that's why when you said that about that many people dying from an overdose of meth, like I did a lot, and I'm little, and I used to be a lot littler than this when I was using. So I don't know how I didn't.
Right.
It's
Didn't
crazy.
you get confused? Like when you do that much, don't you? I did some, and I I smoked out of a bong for the first time. Long time ago, probably 12 years ago. Um, and I was in Lake Wissota. I was trying to drive back to Eau Claire, but I ended up driving to Cadott instead.
I mean,
And
You got that backwards?
dude, I was so confused. I couldn't. If I would have gotten pulled over, I would have been.
well, see, I was already using, I like when I first started using, I would either smoke it or snort it. But when I would smoke it, a lot of the times we'd smoke out of a quag or a bong. So it was a higher,
Right.
more of a high than just smoking out of a bub, And then once I didn't know about hot rails until I was an addict, and somebody showed it to me, and I thought it was the coolest thing. I mean, it is cool. Like,
It does look cool, but
you
it's
can
not cool.
Right.
snort something up your nose as a solid, and it will come out your mouth as a smoke. That's cool. Okay, if they had that with nicotine or like anything else, I would do it just because it's fun to do that. Just that, not
Right.
even the drug. Just
So now you have a way to do it that you're really enjoying too, which that's not going to help you quit either.
exactly. Yeah, I was literally amazed. Like, I thought it was like the best thing I'd ever seen in my life. Like, how can you put something up your nose
That
as
is crazy.
a solid and it comes out your mouth? Smoke.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense now that I know how. Like, I've done it,
Right.
and but it was just blew me away, and I was like, I need to do that,
And you did.
and I did, and I think that's honestly what made it worse, because when I started smoking, when I would just smoke out of a bub or do a line,
Mm-hmm.
I would just be up. I'd smoke. Usually, if I smoked out of a bub, I'd smoke for 3 days straight.
Right.
But if I did a line, I could stay up like a whole day until I'd have to do another one. So, but then once I started doing hot rails, I just thought it was so cool that I was just like, I gotta do it more, and I gotta do more, and I gotta do
It
more.
just got worse.
Started
and
out with
worse.
little lines like that, and ended up with big ones like that.
Yeah.
So,
So let's discuss a little bit about how to treat meth use, because what is available, like medications and treatment programs for meth use.
Not a damn thing.
That's what
Right,
I thought.
like
There's very
detox.
little.
Detox. That's about it.
yeah. Honestly, though, like when you come off of meth, you're still seeking that, that up, whatever. But
Do you have a lot of fatigue?
Oh,
yes,
hell yeah.
but if you can sleep, like, if you are able to like get 4 or 5 days of sleep, and then get up and just start over from there, it doesn't take as long as like a heroin or an opiate addiction.
Right.
Like, it's easier to do, like, by yourself if you have, like, if you
I was
really
gonna
want
say,
to.
Yeah, if you can, say get dropped off 10 towns over in a hotel and just get left there.
Well, see, like
That'd be fine.
before I got my kids taken, my uncle had a house in Menominee, and he was a snowbird, so he wanted somebody to stay in the house over the winter,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a perfect opportunity. Obviously, my mom was already concerned that I was using, but didn't know for sure because I was denying it.
Right.
And then we moved there, and my plan was my mom was going to help with the kids, and I was going to get
Mm-hmm.
sleep and
Yeah.
get the hell over it, because, like I said, I begged my dealers to make them stop, and they wouldn't. So, but before I even got to that point, that they were taken. So, and that's why I ended up telling my mom I wanted to slaughter her like a pig, because I wanted to sleep it off for the weekend and reschedule the appointment for Monday. And she went and did the appointment because she felt like she had to.
Yeah.
So, and that pissed me off, because I was hoping and praying that come Monday, I wasn't going to pee dirty and none of it was going to happen.
Oh no, that shit stayed in my system for over a week.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's
But-
definitely stays in your system, especially if you're doing more.
It's even if you do go to detox treatment, all that, you're never gonna stay clean if you come back and all your dealers and everything's still right there.
Yeah.
So there's nothing they'll prescribe you.
They will prescribe you Wellbutrin.
Which does nothing.
But yeah, like, it's a slight stimulant. My family doctor didn't want to put me on it because she said it was going to push me into meth use again.
Right.
My doctor did put me on it along with my Vyvanse.
Yeah, I'm on
said that it
I'm on
would-
Wellbutrin right now and Vyvanse. So.
I took it twice and
Well, see, in the before I got on my Vyvanse, she put me on the Wellbutrin to help, just because I was struggling with getting up, really.
Right. So it's mostly detox, and then you need to stay away from people and get yourself right and heal, and
Yeah,
just
and
make
it's
sure not.
possible because I was dating the dealer and got sober, so
Right.
it is
Right.
possible.
That's true. How were you able to get away from him? How do you
Well,
just
I mean,
you just
it's
completely cut him off?
well, CPS helped me out with that one, I guess.
Yeah.
Because they, he went to jail right after my kids got taken, and they promised, that they were gonna include him and everything. Well, then he's stubborn ass. So when he wasn't complying with them, then they were like, "Well, it's your kids or him." So
And
then he just went off and was fucking somebody else behind my
Oh,
back.
geez.
So
So is that how you were able to break that substance abuse with meth? Then is when you broke that with him?
yeah, I mean, but I was still seeing him and everything for quite a while, but just I had one relapse with him like after he had gotten out of jail, and then he just continued using, and got locked up for 5 days, and I was like, nope, I'm done, and I didn't even smoke weed again after that. That's when I was able to quit smoking weed and everything, and I was like, I'm getting my kids back.
Right.
Well, with
So-
any addiction, like, you need to be ready to be done yourself.
I agree, 100%.
You can't have anybody telling you have to quit. It
Yep.
has to be your decision.
Yeah. Yeah, because there will come a time when you are ready.
Or like getting your
Yep.
kids taken away. You have to have an incentive to be clean.
Right.
Like,
Right. One of my buddies said to me one day, he's like, I need to find somebody and settle down and have a kid, because until I do, like, I have no reason to be sober. I don't have somebody that I need to look out for other than myself. So I don't
sometimes
feel like
even
I
that
even.
kid turns into an excuse to use.
Right. Yeah. That's true too. Yeah.
Like, they're just bad. They're stressing me out.
Well,
Right.
see, that in my situation too, I had my kids back for, I got them back in February, and it was July when I moved into my apartment by myself, but when I had got them back, I had help. I had my mom and stepdad and my sister sometimes. So having 3 kids wasn't as hard for me, but then, I went to my own place in a different town than my mom, so she wasn't able to be there to help me as much, and I just got, my daughter is ADHD. She wasn't medicated at the time. It was just a lot, and she has trauma from me. A lot of it has to do with me. And sometimes that just overwhelms you, because we moved in July. In August, I was doing heroin. But I did heroin the
Right.
first time and literally felt like I literally got down on the floor and played Barbies with my daughter for like an hour. And I felt like I was the best mom in the world.
I've never done heroin, but like I used to eat fentanyl patches and all. Same shit.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I would play with my kids for hours.
Because you
I
feel
could-
like you're on cloud 9. You feel amazing. Like
Right.
nothing can happen to you.
I could work double shifts, no problem.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember working doubles on opioids.
It's so easy.
Oh, yeah, because you don't feel anything.
No.
So, Sam, anything else you want to add today?
Nope. Don't do meth.
Good
Hugs,
call.
not drugs, man.
Yeah,
Unless-
Brandon? Oh, go ahead.
Unless it's weed.
Anything else for you today, Brandon?
No. Drugs are bad.
Yeah, I mean, meth is very dangerous. The answer is just don't get involved with it. It's dangerous, it's risky.
Reach out to
It's
your doctor.
very bad for your
help
health,
if you
right.
feel like you even need to. And if your doctor says nope, go to the next one, because
Right, that's
one of
great
them will
advice.
help you.
Unless
You can
abs-
get second and third opinions. You
Yes.
don't have to just listen to one doctor.
Unless
Exactly.
it's absolutely necessary, don't put your kids on this shit, man. Because I feel like I didn't have a chance.
Yeah, but
I mean, I was put on it.
But with me, I feel like I could have had a lot more opportunity and done way better and not failed, not skipped school and didn't go out and do
I think
shit.
the answer is to try to involve your kids in the conversation. Don't just make the decision for them. Talk to them and help, even if they're a little younger. Just try to help them understand what they're taking and how the long term. They're not fully gonna get it, but they
Right.
are going to understand a little bit of what you're talking about and can help make the decision if they want it or not.
Right.
Man, I
And
hated
try
my
to help
pills.
them
I used to stash my pills in the couch. I didn't want anything to do with them when I was a kid.
try other things before you try medication. Absolutely. Like, even if that's therapy, even if that's parenting classes, and like anything, do your research and make sure that it's, we fought with my daughter's doctor for a year and a half before we finally got her to put her on it.
Right.
And that's because we did the research and we had all, we went to the doctor's appointment and we're like, look, here's her school work. Here's,
Right.
Here's what she's doing. Something needs to be done now.
Yeah, bottom line, weed is not a gateway drug. Prescription pills are.
Exactly.
Doctors
Yeah.
give out gateway drugs to street drugs.
Right.
2 kids.
Yeah.
For sure. And and if you do find yourself on that path, just do what you have to do to get help because it's for you, your life, your community, your family, just everything.
Another thing, I feel like us meth users, well, actually addicts, recovering addicts in general, I feel like we see life so much different than, like, my dad, his girlfriend, my mom, like, they always try to tell me things, how to do things and stuff, and it's like a totally different vision. You see the world totally different than you ever did before, than anybody could ever try to imagine, because they've never been through the hell that we've been through.
And we've also changed our brain chemistry a lot.
Yep.
So we are coming from a different perspective than they most likely are.
Right.
Yeah, it is really talked about it before. It's even tough for like counselors sometimes who haven't been there, I think, when they're telling you what to do. Like, just hold on a second. You're not quite hearing what I've been through.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
So, but yeah, thank you guys both for being
Thank
here.
you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know this is not an easy conversation to have, but I appreciate that you're both able to come and talk about it so openly.
I enjoy talking about it, so if anybody needs to talk about it,
I'm just glad we
Reach
were
out.
both able to get clean.
Yeah, for sure, man.
hell yeah. There's only 2%. 2% of us make it out alive, so
Yeah.
scary statistics.
So yeah, thank you guys and thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe, stay safe, and make good choices for yourself and those around you.